Hello, good evening. I'm Dr. David Bull. I am chairman of Reform UK, and tonight my chairman's talk continues. Tonight I'm in a village called Winestead. Where on earth is that, I hear you cry? Well, we're just down the road from Hull. The reason I am here is we are celebrating the fact that Hull made history by electing the first ever Reform UK mayor in the shape of Luke Campbell MBE. Tonight I'm here to meet him, and of course once again I'm joined by a group of ardent reformers. Good evening. Well, a very, very good evening to you all. Welcome to the Whitehall Estate in Winestead. Let's cast our minds back. What a moment that was when Luke got elected, and what a journey it has been. Well, Hull showed the country what is possible when fed up ordinary people stand up for themselves and say, look, we've had enough and we want change. And that is exactly what you delivered. Luke's victory saw him gaining a walloping 35.8% of the vote, which sent shockwaves through Westminster. I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, they haven't got over it. They're still talking about it. And let me tell you, we have only just got started, haven't we? Well, of course, Hull has always been a city that works hard and, of course, it speaks its mind. It's affectionately known as Yorkshire's maritime city. It is a proud port with 800 years of rich seafaring heritage. Now, the town of Wyke-on-Hull was founded late in the 12th century by the monks of Mow Abbey as a port from which to export their wool. Then it was renamed to Kingstown upon Hull in 1299. And since then, it's been a market town, it's been a military supply port, it's been a trading centre, a fishing and whaling centre, and of course, an industrial metropolis. Now, Hull was also an early theatre of battle in the English Civil War, and its 18th century Member of Parliament, William Wilberforce, took a prominent part in the abolition of the slave trade in Britain. So, what about the Hull of today? Well, the skyline of Hull boasts the famous 2.2-kilometre long Humber Bridge, which opened in 1981, whilst its historic old town and vibrant docks tell stories of centuries past. Visitors flock to the Hull Maritime Museum and, of course, to the Deep, which is the city's iconic futuristic aquarium. This really is a place where history and modernity meet and where resilience runs deep. But let me just tell you, things are not all rosy. Like many parts of the UK, Hull has huge economic problems. It has rising crime. It has concerns over unfettered immigration, and it suffers from years of neglect from the political establishment. Let me tell you one big fact here. It's a shocking fact. Hull is now the fourth most deprived authority in the UK, with over 111 crimes per 1,000 people. That is almost 25% more than the rest of the UK. And quite frankly, that is an unacceptable statistic. And that is exactly why in May people decided enough was enough, and they elected their first ever Reform UK mayor. And the message across the country is loud and clear to the other political parties. Britain is lawless and Britain needs reform. Well, on tonight's show, we have a fantastic lineup of guests coming for you. We're going to kick off by talking to Councillor John Dimberline. Now, he represents South East Holderness. I'm going to be talking to him about the challenges that he faces on a daily basis, the rise in crime in this area, and how that has impacted and affected his constituents. Then, after that, we'll hear from ex-detective and soldier Andy Walker. Now, he served in the Metropolitan Police for 10 years before serving here with Humberside Police for a further 6 years. I'm going to talk to him in detail about crime, about policing, the state of the nation, and why Britain is increasingly lawless. And to round things up, we'll be joined by Hull and East Yorkshire's very own Mayor, Luke Campbell, and we'll be hearing from Luke about what has been happening since that historic win, the challenges he has been tackling head-on, and his vision for the city's future. Now, just before we meet my first guest, I do want to give you some facts on crime generally in the UK. And these really kind of set the scene for what we are going to be talking about tonight. And these really are pretty shocking. In England, there is a knife crime incident every 10 minutes. A sexual offence is committed every 2.7 minutes. A violent crime every 17 seconds. Last year, there were 500,000 cases of shoplifting, 200,000 bikes were nicked, phone theft soared by 150% in 2024 and is still rising. And knife crime, something we talk about a great deal actually, increased by 87%. Astonishingly, over 250,000 young people carry knives in the mistaken belief they offer protection. And stop and search, well, that's been cut by over 50% in the last decade. And that may explain the fall in recorded drug crime that we've been seeing since 2010. So what does all of this tell you? Well, it tells me, it tells all of us, it tells you around the country that Britain is well and truly lawless. Well, my first guest is Councillor John Dimberline. He represents South East Holderness. He was elected in July of last year. He has quite the CV. He is a successful businessman turned community leader. He built a major security firm before moving into property, building works and other local businesses. He runs a thriving karate club with his son, and he was one of Reform UK's first ever elected councillors. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to say he joins me now. Very good evening.
Well, first of all,
Of course it is.
It's great to be here. Thank you, and it's great to meet you. And this is my first outing as a live interview, so I'm looking forward to this. And you know, let's get going with it.
Fantastic. You have an amazing CV, great things that you've achieved. Let me just ask you though, for people here in the audience, but also people at home, why did you decide that actually the time was right? You wanted to actually put something back into the community, and you decided, right, I want to be a councillor.
I think it was a double-barreled thing, really. I mean, initially, I look at the country on the national scene. I see what's going on nationally. Obviously, you talk about crime. We look at the immigration and everything else. And so there was a by-election coming up in this local area. And so I took the opportunity to try and kill two birds with one stone. One, to become a reform, if not one of the first reform councillors. And secondly, to be able to put something back in to the community. It's always about the residents, and that's what I like to do.
I mean, it's incredible. Yes, I absolutely agree. Let me just ask you, though, having been elected, is it what you expected?
No, absolutely not. It was a bit of a baptism of fire, if I'm being honest. I think one of the important things that we've got to do as we go forwards is to make sure that future councillors have more of an awareness of what's required of them. It's very easy for somebody to think, well, I want to be a councillor, and they come on board, they take the job on, and then they kind of fall at the first hurdle. So for me, I've been in business a long time, and I like things done a certain way. Quality is important, and so I think it is crucial that we give everything back to the community, as well as looking at everything that's happening on a national basis.
And I've been around the country meeting many of our councillors. One of the things that impresses me is the teamwork. Now, obviously, you're a slight exception to all of this, isn't it? Because you're kind of pretty much on your own.
Yeah, I'm like Reform's lone wolf in South Holderness or East Yorkshire. I'm the only proud to be an East Yorkshire councillor, of course. I will work cross-party. At the moment, I've got to work with other groups. I've got to work with, you know, whatever other parties are out there. And everybody generally has a reasonable camaraderie. But at the end of the day, you know, the Conservatives are the Conservatives, I'm Reform, Labour are Labour, and we've all got our own agenda. We've all got what we want to get done ahead of us.
You are there to represent the people of this location, right? So you spend your time talking to people. From your experience, what is the biggest disconnect between what people are saying on the doorsteps about what they want the council to do and what the council is actually doing?
Well, how long have you got, David? Because it's very difficult. You know, a councillor, a good councillor's got to wear two hats, really. One being that I've got to have a certain foot in a camp because of the council. They do the best that they can do given the resources that they've got. But constantly I am I receive regular problems on a daily basis. It's whether it's to do with housing, whether it's the condition of the roads. A guy got in touch with me only the other day. He'd come off his motorbike. There's a problem with the road, potholes, mental issues, a whole host of amazing things that need to be done. And the problem that I come across generally with the council is the lack of speed at which things seem to get done. Easy for me to say in my business world, a business person will see a problem, they'll deal with that problem quickly, efficiently, and then move on to the next one. Everything seems to be sludged with bureaucracy. And one of the biggest problems that I come across when I'm asking for this or that, repairs, whatever it might be, is budget restraints, lack of money. And we've got to ask ourselves the question, why is that?
And is it a lack of money, or is it a lack of willpower, a lack of actually wanting to do these things? And also, maybe you want to answer that question about where is the money?
It's a contentious issue. I mean, you know, I know that a lot of the officers within the East Riding of Yorkshire Council do a great job. A lot of them are very responsive. Some are not as responsive as I might like them to be. And I often feel that they've got to go back up the ladder to get answers to questions. And one of the biggest things that comes back time after time is we've got no money, there's no budget for this, whether it's a new bin here or a repair there. And I feel that there could be better efficiencies which would cascade down and help people on the ground. And I think that, crucially, the money isn't there. You know, I think that years ago, this country was so amazing that it could have been such a wealthy country if money wasn't wasted on all the different things it gets wasted on. And we could have more money centralised and sent down to local authorities. And I just think there's less and less coming down to local authorities, and that's where the problem is.
I mean, it really feels like we're in a state of managed decline in many ways as a nation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So can I just ask you, just in terms of being a councillor, obviously people talk to you about a lot of different issues. We're talking about Britain is lawless. Crime comes into this quite a lot, doesn't it, in terms of what people are saying on the streets?
It can do. I mean, I've got a security background. I've worked on the periphery with the police. I work with the local police, trying to get involved in community projects. I mean, we've got issues going on with local CCTV, and we're also looking to set up a community patrol group. This is a new idea, and you're seeing more of this going on around Britain now because people feel, look, the police do the best that they can do given the resources that they've got, but there is difficulties with crime, more in the cities, I think, than out here.
So just tell us about this initiative that you've got in terms of the community patrols, because it's a great idea. Just explain to people what it means.
In brief, I set up a group called Town Smart, which operates within the region, and we clean, we paint, we wash, we clean road signs, we do all sorts of things to try and uplift the standard within towns and villages. And then as a division of that, I want to set up a community patrol group, which is now, we've got insurance, it's all done properly. The police, they sometimes frown at things like this, but there are more and more of these groups setting up. I got the idea from a Dulwich group down in London, in Dulwich, and they can, by being out there as a presence, safeguarding children. This is a big thing now. Safeguarding children is a big thing. Playgrounds, schools, reassuring the elderly, being out there to deter antisocial behaviour and crime, and just engaging, and the peace of mind that people will get from that is a great thing.
And what do you think is the biggest issue that needs addressing in this particular area?
I think we need more police on the beat. I think when you look back to the 70s, the 80s, you know, if you rang 999, if there was a problem, a police officer would do their best to attend. These days, you ring the police, they're understaffed, and you must look at the police and wonder what the actual police officers on the ground think. There must be some demoralisation going on there. They're at this protest, they're at that protest, they're caught in the middle of everything. So I think that the police are struggling, and they'll always say that they're not. But in my opinion, you know, I think we need more police.
And just let me ask you very quickly, there's a lot of headlines today about immigration, illegal immigration in this country. Does that come across your desk much where you are?
Well, look, when I was 13 years old, I worked for a Muslim family on the markets back in the early 70s. And I'm still in contact with those people now. They're from West Yorkshire. And you couldn't ask to meet nicer people. The old racism card gets trotted out every time you mention your reform. It's a very tired, weak, boring comment. Racism, it doesn't even exist. And I'm also involved with some local Muslims now, helping them with housing, and they work here legally. They work here and pay taxes. They're good people. They're decent people. They're very kind and caring people. But of course, we've got to look at the other extreme element, and we've also got to look at the illegal crime wave that's coming into this country. Unknown criminals, hundreds of them, with who knows what problems they're going to continue to bring in a way that we've never seen before.
And can I just finally ask you, why do you believe that Reform UK is different to the other political parties?
Well, it's quite easy, really. I mean, I think it comes from two methodologies. One is a way of thinking. I cannot see this country continuing to be what this country evolved to be over many, many years if we have the same swing boat backwards and forwards of Labour, Conservative, who make nothing other than false promises, lies, fake manifestos. If you did that in business, David, you'd be out of business in 10 minutes, or you'd be in front of trading standards. And I think you would agree with that. Finally, obviously, I'll try not to stay here for too long. The way that things are going, we need somebody. Nigel Farage will stand up and he'll give good answers to questions. And everything about reform is based on two of my favourite words: common sense.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we can all agree you're doing a fantastic job. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, please, for John Dimberline. There you are. Well, as you heard there, John talking about the issues that local residents face, their fears, as we heard about their safety, the increase in crime they're witnessing on their very own streets. Now, make no mistake, he mentioned this actually, the legacy parties have let this country down.
It's falling. You hear it every year. Crime is falling, so please don't worry your poor little heads.
We will never apologise for standing up for Britain and saying the truth. What are any of us supposed to do when those in charge do absolutely nothing? I've had enough of daily muggings, daily stuffings, seeing gangs roam my streets and balaclavas terrifying my children. We're tough on crime. No, they're not.
We need to restore law and order from the bottom up. People need to feel safe again. Britain needs reform.
We're actually facing, in many parts of our country, nothing short of societal collapse. And people are scared to go out of the shops, scared to let their kids out. Reform will be the toughest party on law and order and on crime that this country has ever seen. We will take back control of our streets. We will take back control of our courts, of our prisons. And if you're a criminal, I am putting you on notice today that from 2029, either you obey the law or you will face very serious justice. Zero tolerance policing. There is nothing left-wing or right-wing about desperately wanting for our society, for our streets, to be a hell of a lot safer than they are today. As with everything that we do, when we say it, we actually mean it. Thank you.
When we say it, we actually mean it. That's Nigel Farage there. Well, my next guest is an ex-soldier. He's also an ex-police officer. He served for 10 years in the Metropolitan Police in London, both in uniform and as a detective. He served a further 6 years with Humberside Police here in Hull and East Yorkshire. Now, whilst he was a serving police officer, he realised the government had to implement proper regulation of the UK's private security industry. So he devised a local registration and training scheme for pub and nightclub doormen in East Yorkshire, which was rolled out across the UK. And finally, after years of campaigning, the Private Security Industry Act was given royal assent, passing into law in 2001. And I'm delighted to say that Andy Walker joins me now. A very good evening to you, Andy.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
First of all, I mean, you've got an amazing backstory, first of all, but also that's quite an accolade, actually, changing the law.
Yeah, it was something I strongly believed in. I used to see violence on the streets, particularly involved in nightclub doorman on a regular basis on a Friday and Saturday night, and just tried to put something together to improve that. And the local scheme did work. And at the same time, the government was considering regulation of the private security industry. So I just basically got involved with that and got more and more involved, and ended up writing the training packages and everything. So
well, many congratulations.
It's been well worth it.
Well, I certainly think it has been. Let's just look at the facts behind lawless Britain. When I just tell you a crime is committed every 55 seconds, a violent crime every 2 to 3 minutes, a theft every 3 minutes. This particular area also above average, as I said, 25% higher than the rest of the UK. What's going wrong?
Basically, the police have had their hands tied for a long, long time. There's lack of funding, a lack of actual police officers, way too much DEI and woke theories within the police service, which is hampering what they do.
Yep.
And I think, as John mentioned, I think the police are thoroughly demoralised. I saw a short video clip on one of the internet platforms the other day. I won't mention the one, but it showed a young lady sergeant who actually explained that her subordinates, if you like, her PCs and WPCs on the street, they just consider it a result if they get through the shift without getting a complaint. That's more important than anything else. Never mind nicking a burglar. It's not getting through the shift without a complaint.
And certainly talking to many of my friends who have served, who are serving in the police at the moment, they've reached sort of more senior grades of the police. They're seeing many of their colleagues leaving, they've had enough. And of course, we've got very young people coming in at the bottom with no training, no experience, and of course, no one to really be their mentor. And as you mentioned, the woke DEI stuff, that's hampering everything about common sense policing.
It is. I mean, when I was a young policeman down in London, I mean, your basic stop and search in the street, that was your bread and butter tool. Get in the drugs, get in the weapons off the street. But a lot of them are frightened to do it now.
So let's just talk about stop and search. It's gone down, what, 50% in terms of stop and search generally. But we know that if you stop and search people, you're more likely to find people who are carrying drugs, for example, or illegal weapons. Why have we gone down this road?
Certainly on the stop and search for weapons, I think it's the police are, that they won't admit it, but I think they're generally frightened of upsetting certain factions of our society. And for that reason...
What do you mean by that? Certain ethnic makeups?
Yeah, ethnic, religious, whatever. And I think they're just frightened to upset people. And as a result, that's why you're seeing a knife incidents increase, because people aren't afraid, because they don't think they're going to get searched.
But the problem with this is that actually what we're now seeing is the overuse, abundance of illegal drugs in this country, which of course, as we know, fuels crime. I'll just give you some figures. 300,000 heroin or crack users. We have the second highest rate of cocaine use in the world. Also, just in terms of the thefts that I mentioned, drugs make up 50% of those thefts. So we need to stop and search.
Indeed, indeed. And not only stopping and searching, it's all very well taking the knives off these people on a daily basis. But what we need is for the courts to actually punish people properly. What's wrong with if you get stopped tomorrow with a knife, instead of getting a written caution, 3 months inside. Second time, 6 months inside. People will soon stop carrying them.
So this is what I mentioned right at the beginning, zero tolerance in terms of actually making sure that if you commit any crime, there is zero tolerance to that crime. Let me just also ask you, it's a hot issue topic at the moment in terms of illegal immigration into this country. We know we're seeing people coming into this country, we have no idea who they are, they're throwing their passports into the sea, of course, being hoteled at great expense. We know that there is a huge problem with illegal migrants causing crime. Many of those crimes, there was obviously the news story about Epping today as well. People, I think the residents, the British people, have said enough is enough, and actually we're going to do something about it.
Yeah, and exactly. And going back to what John mentioned, we are seeing lots more of these community security kind of systems, because the public don't think the police are looking after them well enough.
And what's your view on these community police groups instead of actually having more police, which, by the way, successive governments have actually said they would deliver? 20,000, I remember, being the number that they said they would deliver, which they haven't.
Obviously, the ideal situation would be more.
Yeah.
police on the streets, but in the absence of that, community groups, community protection groups can help, and they can certainly help and work with the police, providing they're properly trained and properly vetted. Then, you know, they're quite capable of doing the job or helping.
So one of the other things that I hear all the time from my friends is actually they've been shunted off from the streets to do all this paperwork back in the back office. When I was growing up, we saw community police officers. We saw them walking the beat. We knew that actually if we did something wrong, you'd kind of get told off and you would never do it again. Yeah. Is that where we need to go back to? I'm not quite suggesting Dixon of Dock Green, but I am suggesting we need visible community policing.
Indeed. Indeed, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. One of the problems has been for a long, long time, even when I was in the police. If I came on duty at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I was called to a supermarket and there was a shoplifter, I'd have to arrest that shoplifter, back to the police station, do all the process, do all the paperwork. Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to go home. I've dealt with one prisoner all day. The amount of paperwork is ridiculous.
And of course, the other problem is we've effectively decriminalised shoplifting. You can nick 199 quid's worth of stuff. I'm not saying you should do that, but you can nick 199 quid's worth of stuff. The police won't touch you.
No, I saw something interesting from, I think it was Lancashire Police the other day, where they actually put out some sort of publicity saying they advise shopkeepers to meet and greet people at the door and it will stop them shoplifting. We've seen some of these videos of these gangs of youths going in, trashing the place and nicking whatever they want. Just because you say hello to them on the way in, they're not going to stop.
No.
You know, well, let's see if they can understand what you're saying.
Well, you know, look, I've seen this with my own eyes in East London. I've seen people walking in the height of the summer with big Macs on, and they shove steak into their Macs and just walk out of the shop.
It's such a shame that a steak in Tesco's is better protected than our borders at the moment.
Well said. Very well said. I mean, clearly you're going to be in cabinet when Reform UK gets into government at this rate, with those common sense views. Why do you believe that Reform UK is the answer? If you were talking to people on the doorstep, by the way, I'm going out tomorrow, I'm going to be knocking on doors, what would you say to people who have never voted for Reform UK, who are tribal Labour voters or Conservative voters or however they voted? What's the message that you would give in terms of crime and punishment and the rule of law and order?
The only way you're going to reduce crime dramatically in this country, I know Nigel said he wants to drop it by 50% in the first 5 years of the first term, if you like. The only way you're going to do that is, one, get a party in government that actually wants to do it, which is what's been lacking for the last 20 years. And secondly, get rid of all this DI, wokey stuff, and let the police actually police.
Yeah.
Let them actually do the job. But then, of course, you've got to make room in the courts. You've got to get them through the courts, which are all been closed down. We've lost so many courts. And then you've got to find prison places to put them in.
Well,
we've got 100,000 foreign national prisoners costing us 50 grand a year to keep in jail.
Yeah.
That's £500 million.
My understanding is there are 10,000 foreign nationals sitting in our prisons. We're already way over capacity. Deport those people who do not belong in this country and let their own countries look after them and put them in their own prisons.
Indeed, indeed.
Well, I think it's so refreshing to talk to someone like you. I know you're on the side of the police. I think we're all on the side of the police.
So.
We need them to police properly and effectively. And with people like you joining the cause, we're in a really good place. Ladies and gentlemen, say thank you, please, to Andy Walker. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, my final guest is a true Hallensian. He is Hull-born and bred. He is just 37 years old. He has 3 sons with his wife, Lindsay. He made his name as a professional boxer, and at the 2012 London Olympics, he won gold in the 56-kilogram bantamweight division after beating Ireland's John "Joe" Nevin. Following an illustrious boxing career, he then turned his attention to politics, becoming the Reform UK candidate in the 2025 Hull and East Yorkshire mayoral election. It was a slam dunk. He gained 35% of the vote, becoming the inaugural mayor of Hull and East Yorkshire. So, let's remind ourselves of his story.
It was so incredible to represent my country at the highest level in boxing.
we've got a real chance here for British boxing of a crossover superstar. He appeals to that mainstream audience. He's already won the gold medal. He's the most successful amateur ever in British boxing, and the people at Hull are really coming out.
I've been at the highest levels of the amateurs, the highest levels of professional. One of the proudest moments in my life was coming home after the Olympics, seeing all the people that turned out for me. It's the first time ever where the country just come together as one. Everyone was friendly, everyone would stop and sing along with randomers about the Olympics and someone winning, and it was amazing. Hull's really good when they get behind their own and cheer for their own. It's a great city filled with great people. I'm proud of who I am, where I come from and what I do and what we represent. I want to be mayor of Hull because I want to represent the people in the right way. I want to do it for my family, I want to do it for the community, and I want to do it for my country and fight for the people of this city. That's what I want to do now. I want to commit my time to making this place a better place.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the son of Hull, England, Luke Campbell!
Well, there you are, Luke for mayor, and now he is mayor, ladies and gentlemen, Luke Campbell, MBE. Wow. I mean, that is some life story, actually, to go from what you were doing to becoming the mayor. Just in terms of the reality of that, I mean, what was it like when you actually won?
Do you know, I don't know, I was just very respectful to the rest of the parties that lost. And it was, for me, it's not really going to kick in until I can really start delivering for our communities. Like, that's the only reason why I stepped up to run for the role of mayor, was to give back to my communities. As you can see during my career, the whole region backed me and supported me during my career, and it's now I'm in a position in life where I can actually, I want to fight for what they want, make decisions with them and not for them, and work together as a community.
So what is the reality of being a mayor? What's it like?
Do you know what? It's really good. It's very interesting. There's a lot of things going on. Like the role for the mayor, it's all about bringing investment, creating jobs, upskilling our workforce, creating affordable housing, transportation. So they're the sort of roles that I'm sort of overseeing and having a vision with. But for me, my biggest passion is delivering for the communities and giving back to the people of this region.
And so just in terms of campaigning on the doorstep, what was the mood like and what did people say to you on the doorstep? Why did they decide to vote for you? What was it about your pitch that they said, yes, that's the man for me?
Do you know what? I never had a pitch. I just literally started talking to them as a normal human being. And what I was getting is everyone's sick to death of politics, really. Everybody promising and never delivering. And I think that's...
So that's really interesting. So you obviously said to people, I'm on your side, I'm one of you, this is what I'm going to do. Was that really what clinched it for you? Do you think that actually it was the fact that it was this almost rebellious vote against those monolithic parties saying, right, we may have voted Labour in the past or Conservative in the past, we're going to trust a new guy?
For me, I wasn't there to sell anything. I wasn't there to sell myself, to say vote for me. I just had a normal conversation with them and spoke about life and struggles and everything else, what's going on. And after the conversation that I would have with them for 5-10 minutes, they'd be like, do you know what? I'm going to vote for you. You know, I don't know too much, but yeah. I'm going to vote for you. But it wasn't a pitch. I wasn't selling them nothing. I wasn't trying to get that vote. I was just talking to them like a normal human being.
Yeah. And as a normal human being, you grew up here, you know this area very well indeed. Talking about Britain lawless crime policing, how has that changed over your lifetime of living here?
Well, I think we all know that crime's up. And, you know, I think we're living a different world to what we lived in when I was a young kid. You know, I played out on the streets. You know, I was always had to be the first one in out of all my mates that played on the streets. My mum and dad was a little bit more stricter, but you know, it's now I've got younger boys, and you know, I don't like them playing out on the streets. I don't think they're a safe place to be.
Right.
You know, social media, I think, and young kids going around and videoing people and getting into fights and stuff. That's just all part of it.
And where do you think it all went wrong? The fact is, we're talking about the number of kids carrying knives, we're talking about drugs on the street, we're talking about the police saying, look, we're having too much paperwork, we can't actually do what we want to do, which is be bobbies on the beat. Where has it gone wrong, and where can you help, do you think?
Well, I guess that's the golden question.
It is.
You know? I don't think there's one thing of, oh yeah, it went wrong on this point, and this is why everything else as bad as happening. It could be... I think it's a lot of things. For me, I don't have powers over policing, but I'm certainly very keen to work with the Police Chief Commissioner and see what we can do to make our streets safer. I think we need more of a presence of police officers on our streets. Actually, it was only a couple of weeks ago, there was 2 police officers walking on the street, and I stopped them and had a conversation. I said, you know what? I said, I ain't seen police officers on the street in a long time. And it's good to see you. It's good to see that you're walking around the community.
What did the police say to that?
They didn't really... They just said... Yeah, they didn't really say much, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
They just said, oh, yeah, you know, it's a nice day, we're going to get out for a while.
Right, OK. But you see, just going back...
that sun's shining then.
Well, it's been very nice. But just going back to that idea, you know, when you see police on the streets, whether for young people who are always trying to push boundaries, young kids who are always pushing boundaries, they always have, they always will, that presence actually means something, doesn't it? Because they know someone's watching.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. For me, you know, I come from a sporting background where I've always been involved in the communities. So it's just like, I always look at it like boxing gave me a lot. It gave me all my hard-earned life lessons have been learned in that ring, but it's a community feel. And I think when you've got the police force and social care workers and kids and teenagers and also people from the community that all train in the same environment, you get to know your community. And you know, it's not just a police officer with a coat on. Like you get to know who they are as a person as well. And I think once you break that barrier, it's a different ball game.
And certainly when I was growing up, there was much more a sense of community where people actually did become much more cohesive. They knew what was going on their street. So if something was happening, they would all club together. Do you think that still exists?
I think we need to encourage it more. And that's exactly what I want to do. I've just launched a £1 million community fund from the Combined Authority. I want to make decisions with the people of this region. Where do they want to see it? What can we do to improve your community, to improve...
So this fund, basically, you're saying to the public, right, if you've got good ideas, projects, suggestions, let me know.
Exactly.
And as you say, £1 million.
Yeah. I mean, that's to cover the whole region, but we're going to give it a go for this year, and if it's a success, then we'll continue doing so. But I just think it's the start of something new. It's the start. No one's ever done this before, and this is why I stepped up to run for the mayor, to be able to get involved in the communities and say, hey, what's missing? What do you want more of? You know, what can we do to improve your neighbourhood, to improve the community? They fill in the survey, they submit it, and then we go through them.
OK, and your website, lukeasksyou.com, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Very good. So if you want to get in touch with Luke, there you go, lukeasksyou.com. Let me just ask you, these are great, brave initiatives. You know, you're actually asking the community what they want to do, and you are being responsive to that. Let me just ask you quite a difficult question in some ways. What kind of mayor do you want to be known as when you leave office? Hopefully a long time from now.
Yeah. Someone that's brought in investment, that's created good value jobs, that have upskilled the workforce to get the work they need, and someone that's involved in the communities, that's on the street, you know, that's backing families that are struggling in fuel poverty, you know, that's helping young kids achieve their dreams, continue to inspire the next generation of kids, because, you know, I think that's a massive passion that I want to do. I just want to be known as being a part of the community and helping out where I can and making this a better place to live and to work.
And obviously we have a number of elections coming up before us, Wales, Scotland, and then obviously the general election as well. Just in terms of people watching at home who aren't political, who've never really been political, what is the message that you want to convey to those people at home about Reform UK and why they should consider voting for Reform UK? And I'm going to ask you something else as well alongside that. You stood up, you said, I'm going to be counted, I'm going to stand and I'm going to be the mayor. What would you say to other people who are thinking, well, I might stand as a councillor, I might stand as a mayor, I want to be a parliamentary candidate? What's your message?
Well, I think if I did it, anyone can do it.
I doubt that, but OK.
Yeah, you know, I think my heart's in the right place, and that's what's driven me to do what I did. I've put everything on the line just to be a part of the community and give back.
Well, I think you're doing an amazing job, don't you, ladies and gentlemen? Luke Campbell, MBE, thank you so much. Well, just a very quick reminder, if you like what you've heard tonight, our conference is taking place on the 5th and 6th of September. You can get your tickets at reformpartyconference.co.uk. So tonight you've heard from Councillor John Dimberline, you've heard from former detective and soldier Andy Walker, and of course Mayor Luke Campbell, MBE. Look, the message on the ground here in Hull is overwhelming, as it is across the UK. Britain is lawless. We need a party of government which will adopt a zero-tolerance policy, strengthen our criminal legislation and give the police the powers they need to act effectively and rebuild trust within the community. And the surefire way to achieve all of that is to vote for Reform UK. Well, all that remains for me to say is thank you very much indeed to all my ardent reformers who've been absolutely marvellous. Thank you to all of you at home for joining us. Until next time, from all of us here, good night.